Good afternoon. Testing, testing. Hope the sound is okay. All right. Hope everyone is well. It's 1:47 London time, and I'm going to have a look at Bitcoin, TRVL, and QANX. So yeah, I'll kind of have a look at those three. All right, let's just go straight into Bitcoin. So last week I was looking at this. What was it? Something like that. And naturally, the price has kind of just been going sideways. And I wanted to know if we were going to break this kind of steeper trend line. That was really important. And one thing to note about these trend lines is that if we're in a crazy bear market right now, usually what happens is the price rejects off these steeper ones and the price crashes again. And so we haven't had that. We had it once, bounce, and then really you want this to kind of fall. And that's kind of where I was thinking we're going to have a crazy bear market. And yet, even though things could look really bearish, and they are looking quite bearish, the reality is that we're back above 91k. And we've broken that line. You can see we've broken that line. And so while I'm still thinking this would have been a great long if we would have kind of pushed down to sweep those lows, now I'm kind of thinking to myself, something else is going on. That's what I'm going to have to investigate. What's going on with Bitcoin? And so let me do what I usually do, which is kind of map out the volume. Now this volume profile I have is from the pivot low put in November 22. So this is kind of, dare I say it, the bull market volume. And what you can see is that we've kind of trying to lose the value area. Now we're trying to get back above the value area. So the price is playing around this value area high. Yes, I'm well. Hi, Defage. Nice to have you. Well, very well, thank you. Hope you stay for the rest of the stream, or if not, catch up with the cuts later. But we're not really getting crazy buying at the moment. I think the market's really nervous. It's really nervous because even though locally the structure is bullish, like we're putting in higher highs and higher lows on the daily market structure here, it's very clear that on the weekly structure we've put in a lower low. It's very clear to see. Put in a lower low, lower high, lower low. So on the weekly time frame, we're probably looking at some kind of lower high, even though on the daily time frame it looks kind of like somewhat structurally there is bullish structure here. The fact that the price is coming into the value area, trying to get in, can't get in, it's coming back outside. Now it's trying to find support of the value area high of this bull market volume. That's kind of what you want to see if the price wants to go up. You want to see the price reject from the value area. The whole value area becomes support in effect. And sometimes we see this where the price kind of comes in and then comes up, finds support, and then continues. Sometimes we see that. And that kind of in the past, as you can see here, it acted as quite an important SR flip. And so we're kind of above it right now. So we're at a really important place. The other thing that I like is that I like that we've broken this steeper trend line, this one. I like that. That gives me confidence that we're maybe not going down just yet. That being said, if tomorrow we get like a crazy drop like that and we're back in, and then that trend line comes back into play. Yeah, so if tomorrow, like let's say tomorrow, the weekend, whatever, you get a drop, or next week, and we're like down here again, then that trend line will offer resistance and then we're probably going down. So we're at a very critical point in Bitcoin. But at the moment, the structure and market structure on the daily time frame is bullish. We're putting in higher highs, higher lows on the daily time frame, and we're putting in higher lows. So it's really important to see that. What else is there to see? Let me just hide that trend line now. I'm going to kind of have a look at the volume. Where is the volume? This is a higher range, it's overall range. See that value area is down a little bit. Value area is shifted slightly. And actually what you can see is that the value area of this range is offering support there. See that? So we are back into the value area of this higher range. So I would argue that that's actually quite a bullish development, in that we're outside or above the value area high of the bull market volume. We're back into the value area of this range. We've lost it a couple of times, but we're actually back in, and the price is finding support. You can see the price is finding support off the value area low now. So I would say that that's actually quite a bullish development. We broke that in a trend line. So things are changing, and that's the thing about the markets. That's the thing about Bitcoin and crypto. Even though you have an idea of something much lower, it doesn't always happen. And if it doesn't happen, so what? It's not a big deal. You're prepared for an SFP off that pivot, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. You have to reanalyze, look at the charts, and see what's happening now. Yeah, and kind of keep it in the back of your mind, but not be too bothered about it just yet, because the reality is there's no way we're going to get down to 74k as long as we haven't lost 91k, as long as we haven't lost these pivot lows, as long as we haven't lost this high volume node. So we have levels to contend with before we get down there. And so you just want to see how the price reacts from level to level to make a determined decision about what could happen next. You see that daily level that played a role, that offered resistance. It was sold into, and then obviously the shorts took profit, and look, the price is right back. And so it just suggests that there's not enough selling volume or selling liquidity at these levels to keep the price down. That's what I'm seeing in the candles right now, because you're getting traders sell. There was an easy sell there. There was an easy short there of the swing failure. Price dropped 4%. Shorts took their profit, and the price came right back up. And if there was a more sell volume, more shorting going on, then the price wouldn't come back up so much. And so actually it's just kind of looking a little bit much more bullish than before, than last week. And so we're kind of still in the same place, but things have changed because it's now looking more bullish. And so the lesson really for everyone is be patient. When you don't know, just be patient. Just wait for more information, wait to see what happens, wait for more data. And so that level is now washed. Kind of ignore it a little bit. We had another daily level from those two candles. We're kind of still in it, so it's still a level to flip on a lower time frame. And there was this daily level here that was tapped. You see that? So we're kind of in between those two daily levels now. Let's have a look at the weeklies. No, nothing new in the weeklies. And the monthly is still going on. All right, so it's starting to look a little bit more bullish, and we have this kind of this daily level there. I don't really like these daily levels. I like the ones where the price completely turns. This is almost like a continuation, that daily level, but on a lower time frame, it's still relevant, isn't it? That's where the price is. The price is kind of stuck between two daily levels. Generally speaking, what you're looking for is a reclaim. That's your trigger in a situation like this. In a situation like this, you're not longing into resistance. You're not shorting into support. you're looking for a sign of weakness or a sign of strength. In this context, a sign of strength would be a reclaim, and a sign of weakness would be a loss. And that's basically it. That's how we're kind of stuck at the moment. The price is going sideways. Let's have a look at XO charts, the order flow, to see if that offers us any indication of what's going on. So we're getting some bearish order flow here, but the price is above the VWAP, the anchored VWAP, not the anchored VWAP, the daily VWAP. It's underneath the daily open, so we're kind of stuck again. Here you see we're stuck. We're stuck between the VWAP and the daily open. That's why the price isn't going nowhere. We're getting bearish CVD. How do I know it's bearish? It's simple. You see the CVD's going up and the price is putting in lower highs. So you're putting in higher highs on the CVD and you're putting in lower highs. What does that mean? That means the price is being absorbed by sellers, by limit sales, by large limit sales absorbing the price. And for the price to move, you need market movement. You need market buying or market selling. That's how the price moves, with market orders. And when you get the CVD move and the price doesn't move, that means large limit orders are absorbing the market buys or sells. That's effectively what's happening. You see here, just 10 minutes ago, we had the OI drop by 7.7 million and dollars, and the CVD went up. So that was basically a short closing, a short closed effectively. Not all of that was shorts, but most of it closed. So when a short closes, it's a long, isn't it? And that's why here you can see the T size, dominant size is 4 million longs. And so the CVD goes up, but the price actually puts in a lower high. And so that means it was absorbed by a large short limit order. So there are some shorts positioning in here. And we don't know where their stop loss is. It might be above the daily open. It might be a short stop loss, a small stop loss. And they're just basically betting that the price is going down. That's what they're doing. Now, that can change very rapidly. Even though the order flow is bearish, it's clearly bearish because of the CVD. You wouldn't necessarily long because you're seeing bearish CVD. But you wouldn't necessarily short either because we're above the VWAP. We're above the VWAP, we're above that daily level. So you're kind of shorting into resistant support, and you wouldn't long because you're getting bearish CVD. You want that to change. What you want to see is at the very least the CVD to change and go neutral. And in this context, you want the price to put in a higher high here locally, so it invalidates the bearish CVD. Once you get an invalidation of bearish CVD and a back test of some support level like the daily open, then you have a setup to long on continuation. You might argue, well, why would I long higher? Well, because that's when shorts will be closing, and it'll be nice to long when shorts start to get squeezed or start to get close or start to close, because then the price moves quite rapidly. And so going back to this, it kind of brings us back to where we are now. We're kind of stuck. We're kind of stuck. It's Friday. We're going into the weekend. The price is kind of going sideways, just consolidating. Have a look at my indicators. Yeah, getting a little bit of bullish absorption on the indicators locally, and it's kind of like a coin flip, really. And so we just have to wait and see what happens. It can go either way, effectively. Now, the good thing is that we are above that trend line. And sometimes in these situations, what you do get is a fake out before you get a pump, either to the upside to down or to the downside to up. And so it's easy to draw squiggly lines and say, this is what I want. But the price never does what you want. Sometimes what it does is it goes down, stops everyone out, and it goes up, doesn't it? And sometimes it does the reverse. It goes out, stops everyone out, and then collapses. And so that's kind of the liquidity market makers playing their game. And so it's not an easy one to play unless you have a much wider, slightly wider stop, and you risk less in that situation. That's kind of where we're at when it comes to where Bitcoin is now. If I kind of hide those brushstrokes for a second, you see that that 12-hour candle is a bullish engulfing candle. It's a pretty bullish candle. It's got quite nice volume on that candle. We're putting some bullish engulfing candles here on these green candles, which I like. I like to see bullish engulfing with nice volume. Yeah. So there is some buying going on here. There is some buying, some accumulation, so to speak. And I was watching a video. I didn't actually watch all of it, or even I didn't watch any of it really. I saw the title. Someone suggested that we're in an accumulation schematic. And if anyone is suggesting that we're in accumulation schematic, then it's usually Wyckoff, isn't it? So I'm just going to have a look at the Wyckoff accumulation and see if there's a lineup. I didn't watch the video, so I haven't got a clue. Go to a slightly lower time frame. That's the Wyckoff accumulation. It's a schematic one. There's two schematics. One is with a spring, one is without a spring. I mean, I'm not an expert on Wyckoff, to be honest with you. Maybe I should have watched the video. Let's go to a lower time frame. Let me have a look at the second schematic as well. Schematic 2. So schematic 2 doesn't have a spring. Where are you, schematic 2? Just searching my second screen here. Schematic 1, schematic 2. In both situations, ST and face P does put in a lower low. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I see a possibility of a schematic 2 here without a spring. It's a lower time frame schematic, huh? So let's just say that pivot is an ST in phase B. And again, this is not financial, it's all speculative fun, really. Then you've got to kind of I don't really know. I'm not really good at this, to be honest with you. Let's just say that was your PS. Oh my God. And it goes the other way here. This goes down, down, whereas that one goes up, up. But let's just, for argument's sake, that that was an SC. Oop. That was your ST. ST in phase B. 1, 2. And if you're looking at the 2, yeah, if you're looking at the 2, I don't know. I can't really tell. Because here you see it's putting in lower highs and here you're putting in higher highs. I really don't know. I should have watched the video, huh? And if you zoom out, is there one on a higher time frame? If it is, it's only just begun, and then this is a really higher time frame, and it's kind of hard to know. If it is on a higher time frame, then we've only just begun and we're just putting in the first SC, AR, ST, and we're looking for an ST in phase B. And then this is going to be drawn out. This accumulation schematic is going to be drawn out for most of next year, if that's the case. Because then on a so it's hard to know, but then that would have been your PS. And as it draws out, it becomes a lot easier to see. But this would be on a kind of a higher time frame. And we just don't know. We just don't know until the price starts to give us more information and data. And then we're kind of at this top point here above the AR, and then we're actually going down to take these lows. That would be your ST in phase B for a pivot low. If that's the case, then you're actually looking for a long here. And then if you get the ST in phase B, you're looking for 5 waves, 5 impulsive, nice impulsive waves to put in a lower high. It's not going to be that impulsive. Just to kind of go down, 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 down for whatever. Who knows? Yeah, but if it is, it's either just beginning or it's on a much lower time frame, and somehow this is some kind of accumulation. I'm not convinced, and so at the moment I think it's probably the best strategy for people to contemplate is what I said, is just focus on these daily levels. I see the price is stuck there. Let's kind of chuck in the fibs as well. I've probably got them here. Yeah, we're kind of back above the golden pocket, so we're showing some strength here. And time frame volume, where are you? There, kind of showing a bit of strength here. And all you want to see now is the next move. And the thing is that everyone is feeling bearish, and so when people feel bearish, you kind of should get bullish. Yeah? You should be bullish. When people are bearish, you should be bullish. When people start getting bullish, that's when you start getting bearish. And so if you're feeling bearish, then you have to look at the technicals and go, wait a minute, I'm feeling bearish, the market's feeling bearish, people are shorting, but wait a minute, the price is holding support, the price is breaking trend lines to the upside, and the price is reclaiming value area lows, and it's getting back above the value area high, and the price is reclaiming that golden pocket. So these are signs, these are technical signs which actually indicate that the price is actually trying to go up. And when the market feels bullish, bearish, then people sell and they short, and actually what they end up doing is adding fuel to the potential fire of going up when shorts get squeezed. So that's kind of where we're at. I'm not really kind of looking at any trades until I see one of these levels reclaimed or lost. It's kind of where we are. We're kind of stuck. And that, I think possibly what will happen is the price will move quite fast. And so, because you can see the price is coiling up, you can see that, can't you? The price is nicely coiling up, coiling, coiling, coiling. Next move, loss, reclaim, and probably pump, or vice versa. Reclaim, loss, and then probably dump. That's usually how the price moves. You probably get this kind of, oh my god, it's going down, sell, and then ping to the upside. And so that's why it's important to pay attention on these levels, because these are your reference points at the moment of what's going to happen. And you don't necessarily jump into the first move. You wait for a back test so you have a clean invalidation. Yeah, invalidations are important, and you'll often get a fake out if that happens one way or the other. Often you'll get a fake out. In this context, you could easily go and put in a higher low here, fake out that low, reclaim, and then the price pings up quite easily. And vice versa, you could quite easily go up, put in a lower high, lose it. As soon as you lose it, shorts will re-enter and bam, it will crash. So you get shorts get stopped out, but then bigger shorts enter, and those ones that are limit selling, they probably have much wider stops, or they have a higher appetite for risk. Okay, so I would say that on the short term, for me it's looking bullish. So I'd be thinking maybe long. But remember, there's a massive point of control in the way, 96k, which lines up with this 50 fib. That will be resistance, especially if you hit that resistance on Sunday, Sunday the 14th of December. Imagine if the price does kind of go a bit mental and go up, and then bam, and then that's a really good place to sell. And so you get longs, they'll take profit. And people who were thinking about selling will sell at higher prices. And then that's when you can get the price drop. That's when you get a lot of volatility. Okay, and volatility is generally speaking not good for altcoins. But if Bitcoin starts to show some real strength, then you're going to get the altcoins pump as well. All right. So I would say bullish at the moment. Unless, of course, like I said, we are in a much higher time frame Wyckoff, and if we are, then actually this really, all it really wants to do is go down and then go up, down to take out that low for a phase B Wyckoff pivot point. An ST in phase B Wyckoff pivot point. And I think that's probably, whereas before I was thinking much lower, now I'm just thinking back at the pivot low. If we do go down, that's kind of your target. I wouldn't really necessarily think much lower than that. I would think, whereas before I was thinking lower because you're looking for continuation. If you don't get the continuation, doesn't come, then you don't necessarily think lower so quickly anymore. Yeah. And in a bear market, I think we should have had quick continuation to push the price lower, because the whole market is selling. I can see it's obvious that the whole market isn't selling. It's obvious that the market is also buying, yeah, and so that's holding the price higher than a bear market would want or require. And then when you kind of zoom out, it's important to zoom out. When you zoom out, all that's really happening is we had a really nice clean back test there. The price is retraced, and from that pivot point to the all-time high, we're just back above the golden pocket, which is actually quite bullish. Huh? If we can reclaim that golden pocket after coming all the way down to the 786, not losing the 786, reclaiming the golden pocket, that's actually that's kind of nice, isn't it? That's nice. That's kind of what you hope for longing. You want to see strength. You don't want to see the price collapse, which we haven't seen, below the 786 there. And we see the golden pocket lost it. Now we're just trying to reclaim it. It looks like a reclaim of the golden pocket, doesn't it? Reclaim that golden pocket, then we're going up. And it's not going to go up in a straight line. It never does, but you never know. With Bitcoin, can do crazy things. And if it does decide to go up in straight lines, then your first kind of real target, 100k, it'll probably go up to 100k quite fast. And then we have to see what strength carries the market. And it's all about the market. The market decides. The market will decide what happens next. And so there's some kind of targets for some longs. Some people are in longs and they long the fear, and they're in quite healthy profit because they're in spot longs. But when it comes to leverage, you know, these are the places where you can make some nice leverage trades with short stops and have good ROI. If we do, like, if for example, I'll give you an example now. Let's just say hypothetically you long and you have a relatively wide stop and you have a target of 100k. Then you're doing like a 1 to 2.5 trade. It's all right. 1 to 2, 1 to 3. 1 to 3 would be better. 1 to 3 would be good, all the way up to the 50 fib. 1 to 3. That's perfectly acceptable in trading. 1 to 3. But if you get a better entry because you have a reclaim, bring back the reclaim lines. And you'd have to zoom in for that. You get a nice reclaim and you have a much tighter stop because it would just be the local structure. Same target, maybe slightly lower. Then you're looking at a much better trade, 1 to 4. And if you do get a nice, let's say you get a drop and then a reclaim like that, bam, then actually you can get a really nice trade. You can risk your trade position and you can get like a 1 to 8 or 1 to 9 just on a reclaim, a fake out, and then a reclaim would give you a really nice trade and a good risk to reward. Does that make sense? That's why it's good to have a really tight invalidation there. So I'm not predicting the future. I don't know. For me, it looks bullish. I don't know if there's a higher time frame Wyckoff schematic in play, accumulation schematic, which suggests that it should kind of go down to put an ST in phase B, right down an 80k, but not necessarily tomorrow, maybe January. That's how this can play out. But we'd see what happens next, because if the price kind of just continues to struggle and struggle, maybe it does that, and then it could then do that in January, couldn't it? And you have to see what happens in the next few weeks, how the price behaves. All right, so I would say if we are forming a higher time frame accumulation schematic, that's really bullish. On a higher time frame, really bullish. But if this is just kind of, we're trying to form a bottom here just to go and put in a lower high on a higher time frame, then you have to be aware of that. Be really aware of that. Let's just say that was the pivot low. Price went up to 106k, golden pocket, daily level. However we got there, took out that high, rejected, and that's a lower high. Structurally, that's bearish on a higher time frame, and then you're just probably next year you're probably going down again all the way, and then you will have a much lower target, probably around 74k. So there's a lot of things that could happen, and so if you're trading, you just have to keep an eye on it. All right, so that's kind of Bitcoin. Let me have a look. So I saw an altcoin post. And let me just find it. The altcoin market capitalization. This is the post. I don't know. Who knows? You know, people make up all kinds of stuff. Oh, it won't let me paste because it says the file is too big. Have a look at it now. The altcoin market cap appears to be forming a bottoming pattern in this area. Why? It consolidates in the higher time frame support area, indicating we're seeing buying pressure and going sideways. Also on top of that, the first breakout upwards in nearly 3 months is likely to happen. That breakout will break above the 20-day moving average, which the markets have broken beneath since the beginning of October. So he's looking at the altcoin market capitalization. Which one is that? Must be that one. Let me just pull that image back. Where is it again? Have I lost it? No. What am I looking at? There it is. What time frame is he looking at? Can't tell. Can't see. Probably daily. Well, he's looking at the moving averages. So let me put the 20 moving average in. That's the Bollinger Band midpoint. There, yeah, he's right. It's above the 20 moving average. Let's get rid of these squiggles. Keep those trend lines. Go to a higher time frame. Even higher. Even higher. Oh shit, what's that? Even higher. I mean, looking at this 3-month candle time frame, let me hide these trend lines. It doesn't look bearish at all, because the price is in the top part of the Bollinger Band above the 20 moving average. You see that? Yeah. You see how on this higher time, this 3-month time frame, you see how these candles are just going like that. It's kind of pushing this. That doesn't look bearish. That actually looks really bullish. The altcoin market cap. See that? It doesn't look bearish at all. It doesn't look like we're rejecting at all. It looks like we want to break out to the upside. And you see how this lower Bollinger Band is kind of shooting up. It's bullish when you're above a 20 moving average on a higher time frame, and we are on the monthly time frame and the 3-monthly and the 6-monthly. It's just the weekly that needs to kind of, that will change things. So I think possibly on the altcoin market capitalization, we have got a possible on a higher time frame. We have a possibility here to do something quite crazy. I do like it. I do like this actually. It is looking quite bullish, and so generally speaking, that would mean that Bitcoin breaks out and then everyone goes crypto mental, and so people will actually start selling their Bitcoin and buying altcoins. That's what would be required. See how it's squeezing? It's squeezing this Bollinger Band, squeezing at the highs. And really what you want to see for a reversal is you have to lose this 20 moving average, back test, and then we're kind of in the lower half. This turns, then the whole thing starts to go either sideways or it starts to trend down. Okay, and we're not seeing that just yet. Okay, so he does make a fair point. I do like what I see. If you kind of have a look at the Bitcoin dominance 3-monthly, yeah, it looks quite bearish. Bitcoin dominance still looks bearish. It doesn't look bullish. And here you can see on the monthly time frame, we are trying to lose that midpoint, that 20 moving average. So maybe we will see another run, on altcoins. At the beginning of next year, end of this year. I do think I do think Bitcoin is looking quite bullish right now. So whereas last week I was a bit bearish, nothing's changed. I mean, the price hasn't really gone anywhere. It's just the extra kind of data that's come in now. Kind of, it's like if you're not sure, you have to be patient and you have to wait. And from 7 days ago, when is it? We're now Friday. 7 days ago. Look, we were there. Yeah, that's where we were here. Price hasn't really gone anywhere, has it? It's kind of it's 1% higher. Okay, so you don't lose anything by waiting too long. It's just that now you're longing support on reclaims, whereas before it was a gamble. It was hope for the best. And so while before, yeah, you could gamble and you can get 88k or whatever, we don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if the price is going to go down and collapse. Whereas now you've got liquidity, now you've got reclaims, now you've got bullish engulfing, you have a different kind of situation. Now you can see that the sellers are generally struggling. That being said, the New York is opening and the price is going down, so maybe that bearish CVD is playing out. Let's have a look at it on the order flow. Now you see we've lost the VWAP now, so this is actually quite bearish, losing the VWAP. So it's bearish CVD, losing the VWAP, being underneath the daily open. That's pretty bearish. So you kind of want to see this change. You kind of want to see some bullish CVD. The minute you get some bullish CVD, that will give you confidence that the bigger players, the market players, the whales are buying again, and they're buying with force. Okay, that's kind of that always scares me. It scares me to buy when you got the whales are selling, and therefore when you're scared, you shouldn't be buying or selling or doing anything. You should just wait. But you know, the price can do what I said. It could fake out the lows and go right back up. It can, and you can get a big short close out at the lows, and then there's not enough sell pressure, and then you can get bam. That could easily happen. So generally speaking, you either trade the range, scalp, or you just wait for a sign of strength. In this context, I think I'm looking for a reclaim. Go back to my original statement. A reclaim would be nice. Reclaiming that higher daily level. The price could easily take out these lows and go right back up because we're in this range. You could easily do that. See that? We're kind of in the range. Point control is right in the middle. Value area high is at daily level. Value area low is just above that daily level. Price could easily stop out all of these local stops here. Find support and then go right back up. Yeah. That's what scalpers love to do. They love to just like trade the range from range high to range low. And so right now you can see there's a little range here, and that's what traders are doing. They're just buying and selling the highs, buying the lows. All right. So that is my kind of weekly Bitcoin update. I'm feeling quite bullish, but let's see what happens. I do feel a bit bullish, but whereas last week I was feeling bearish, I'm feeling a bit bullish. Let's see. Let's move on to something else. Now, I want to talk about QANX and TRVL. Now, last week's update, I was talking about QANX and I was saying it's kind of following Bitcoin. The problem with last week's update, and I kind of, the clue was in the title. And so if you're following me on YouTube, and you kind of have to read between the lines, don't you? You can't just say everything is bullish and just be bullish. Look at that. My title, what was it? Mainnet delay confirmed. I said it. Mainnet is confirmed. Security audit passed. Mainnet. No one told me it was confirmed, huh? I just deduced it from the language, because what they said was that the X-Link audit passed as expected by Hacken, but now they need to integrate it into the testnet in December. So if you're going to integrate the X-Link audit into the testnet, then you can't launch the mainnet in December, can you? Because you're not doing that. You're integrating the X-Link into the testnet, so it still has to be tested on the testnet. That was probably the last stage. And so while people are feeling, and some people sold obviously, and I'm not trying to get people to buy or sell necessarily. I'm not kind of giving any clues on the Quan platform because I don't really know. Okay, I'm just looking at the charts. I'm just reading the same thing that everyone else is reading on X. and making deductions based on the language, based on the timings. All right. I still hold QANX, so obviously I want it to go up. Not as much as I did before. But it's, you know, I just read the same as what everyone else is reading. And I'm just trying to see if they've posted anything else. No, it's just all QANX, quantum computing stuff. It's nothing else interesting. Look, this is quantum computing. This is quantum, because there's nothing really pressing. It's nothing really. It's like bang, 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 urgent. We need to buy QANX. So nothing. I have to buy QANX now. And I guess what's happening is, you know, the market's getting a little bit impatient. This is impatience. Impatience is a clue to the strength of the market. I'll be honest with you. Yeah. So I think I've said that I think this whole thing is some kind of bizarre consolidation. The whole thing. It is possible that was your wave one, and we were kind of doing WXY there, but it doesn't look like it now, does it? Because if that was your wave one, really the wave two should have the wave three should have happened by now, which it hasn't. And then the other clue is that, have we taken the low? I don't know. Let me just have a look. Yeah, we have. Look, you see that we've taken the low. Bam. We've taken out that low. That invalidates this bullish impulsive move as a wave one. When you take out the low of what could be a wave one, you invalidate it. And effectively, the market is balanced out. It means all of the buyers have sold. There's more sellers than buyers now because the price has actually put in a lower low. At this point, there's still more sellers than buyers. And that brings us to the next impulse, really, which is this one here, which is really far away. And arguably you could say, well, what about this impulse? Well, maybe there was some impulsive moves here, whatever. But the reality, if that was an impulsive move, we should have had a wave 3 by now, and 5, whatever, and it's not looking like it likely. And so you can make kind of deductions about what could happen, and you have invalidations, and invalidations change the scenario. They changes your game plan effectively. Let me see where my EW thing is here. So yeah, I was thinking that should have really been the impulsive move there. You see that? And no, because we've taken the low, and now we've taken out this low. This changes everything. That 5 waves has now been invalidated. You see that? And so actually what we're looking at here is this whole thing being a 2. I can delete all this now. Bam, bam, bam. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Locally, sometimes it works. Because sometimes you get full 5 waves. Sometimes you get these 5 waves, but you're not looking at a full structured impulse wave. It's just like an impulsive 5 waves of a corrective wave. But effectively what you're looking at, and maybe I shouldn't have deleted all that because the waves aren't necessarily bad. Let me just have a look at this. Let me see. 1, 2, 3. Let me see. Let's get rid of that one. Let's just say that 2 is no longer there because we've invalidated that impulse. Let's say that impulsive was part of a corrective. Could you have like a 1? I don't know. I really don't know. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. It's taking too long. You clearly got an ABC type thing here. 1, 2, 3. You see, it does look like it. Look, it does look like 1, 2, 3 there. 1, 2, 3 there. What's this one? 1, 2, 3. Like that. Could that be it? Now we don't care about what low we take because the whole thing is corrective. All right. And I can kind of mark this out differently now, can't I? This is all made up, so this is just future whatever. Let me just redo these. ABC. ABC. Let's do it here. A, B, C. Let's get rid of that one. ABC, ABC. A, I don't know where the B is, maybe there. C. How does that look? Shit, I don't know. Maybe. But what I'm really honing in on is this move here, to be honest with you. This one. Bam, bam, bam. That's what I'm really focused on. Let's go to a higher time frame. There to there to there. So we've lost the 618. You see that? The 618 was holding a support there. Lost it. So whatever happens, we have to reclaim 2 cents. 2 cents is very important. So if you're kind of like thinking, should I buy now or should I wait? You could just wait until we reclaim 2 cents. That's a really important level, just because it's a 618 extension of some kind of corrective move here. See that? And you know it held the support until we lost it. We've lost it now. And the next kind of the one-to-one, oh shit, is taking us to 1.2 cents. So it doesn't always have to go down to the one-to-one. But that's the one-to-one. And effectively what you're looking at is this, like an ABCD type harmonic. Okay, that would complete a running flat. Huh? Is that a running flat? No, it's not running flat. What am I talking about? What is it? Let me have a look. Elliott wave corrective. Extended flat. That's it. Let me just search for it. See what it looks like. Extended or expanded flat in a bull market. Expanded. See that? But you know, generally speaking, the timing's a bit off, but let's just redo the timings. This last one has got 5 waves here, huh? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Maybe there are 5 waves. Maybe you get one more and then a final 5 down. So maybe this last, it's not an ABC, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which would be like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To actually properly bottom out here. Who knows? Based on time pivots, February, yeah, mid-February. It basically coming, it'd be really weird, but it's coming all the way down here to fill this, whatever gap this was, is coming all the way down to fill that gap. And so like I thought, I didn't think this was irrelevant. This buyback. I didn't think that those candles, you can ignore those candles, because I think they're very relevant in the market, because it creates gaps. The market always tries to fill gaps. And so if it does come down, it will nicely fill that gap. And this whole structure becomes really nice, actually, because you have this first crazy expansion. You have this crazy consolidation for a massive gap fill. If you time it perfectly and it comes back down to February 9th, kind of the end of the first week, and you kind of land there at 1.2 cents, becomes a real opportunity, a real opportunity. If you get that kind of continued downward pressure, maybe this actually, I do think we have an up in Bitcoin this month. So I don't know how this plays out. Maybe it goes up and then drops, then you get something like that for a crazy, and then you get the crazy pump. And so you do end up with 5 waves. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 type thing. Yeah. Let me try and draw this time pivot another way. No, this is the best one. Yeah, who knows? Based on these higher time frames, I like to go to the weekly pivots, to be honest with you, because it's so rough. It's such an estimation of time. 1. And actually, you see that C? It was actually there, wasn't it? That's the pivot low. That's the pivot high. Let's do it correctly. You see, see when you do on the weekly time frame, it's different, huh? Look, see that? Mid-December. Or again, back in, so actually we kind of, it's either we pivot now, but yeah, it's a tricky one, because that ABCD is kind of like there to there to there. That would be a really nicely, yeah, you could get something like that. It's always possible. Let's have a look at just the ABCD time pivot. Yeah, well, the 1-to-1 would be mid-Jan, so somewhere towards the end of Jan, beginning of Feb would be preferable to put a pivot in this circumstance, especially knowing about the mainnet being delayed, or rather the testnet being improved or finalized. And naturally, the testnet being finalized, or being the XLink being integrated to the testnet, that has to be tested. They're not just gonna, hey, we put it in now, let's go live. They're gonna test it, aren't they? How long are they gonna test it? I don't know, maybe a month. So maybe the timings are more February. Maybe that's better, because you kind of want Bitcoin to be in a really strong position when you launch that mainnet, don't you? You don't want Bitcoin to be struggling when you launch the mainnet. You want Bitcoin to be like pumping and everyone is excited about crypto. And then you get one crazy wave 3 rally. Do we get a wave 3, wave 4, wave 5? It could be a short wave 4, wave 5. Who knows? No one really knows. But we're going to have to look at this. But what we're looking at now is a kind of like a massive higher time frame consolidation, accumulate, call it what you want. A little bit of volume coming in here on the selling. And look, do you see that? You've got the value area low. Let me come and go to the 3-day chart, even the daily chart. Let me get rid of these time pivots now. Let me expand the volume levels to bring in the last day. Let me get those two images now, that one image. You see the value area low is actually slightly higher at 1.4. And so while the 1-to-1 target would be 1.2, I honestly prefer this. I prefer the price to just take out. Where is that low? Just have a look at it. Definitely to take out that low. Get everyone really bearish. Let's do a fib extension. No. Nada. You've got the value area low coming in much higher than my kind of 1.2. Who knows? Who knows where the price is going to actually find support? There's lots of areas of possibility. And for safety, and this is safety, I think if people want to play it safe, a swing failure of that, so you're basically, a swing failure of that pivot is 1.6. Right now, I think a reclaim of 2 cents would be the first sign of strength. Like reclaiming there would be really important for buying. Yeah, like we're so close to it, you're not really gaining that much by waiting. Yeah, because the risk is now to the downside, isn't it? At the moment, it's to the downside. It's probably better to wait, and then you can start reaccumulating at 2 cents once we reclaim 2 cents. Waiting for whatever happens here to play out. Yeah, because the reality is you could go lower, and then if you go lower, you've got a nice juicy target, which is this level here, which is that would be 1.6, and that would be okay. That would be okay to kind of bottom out here, somewhere between the 1.272 and the 1.414, and effectively you just want to take out that pivot low and go up, of missing the value area low. And so a lot of people will be looking for the value. They're saying, oh, I'm going to buy and wait for the value area. Hey, a lot of people are going to be going, I'm going to wait for 1.2. And you might be right or you might not be. And so you're just looking for areas of accumulation, aren't you? Now that we're kind of trying to make lower prices, now that it's struggling, what you want to see is you want to see some kind of, either what you want to see is you want to see some bullish consolidation here, lots of selling, and the price just can't go down. And then the confirmation would be a reclaim. So if it was just to go up tomorrow, you'd probably get more sell pressure. But if you kind of bottomed out here and then reclaimed it, yeah, you miss out these lower prices, but actually now you're buying into strength, which is kind of what you want to do. Otherwise, what you want to do is to bottom out slightly lower and taking out this low, and that would be ideal, to be honest with you. I think that would be my next big area of interest, that 1.6 cent mark. And then if that just doesn't work, then you've got levels, lower levels. You've got this value area lows of 1.4 just above, and then you've got this 1-2, you've got this 1.618, and you've got this 1-to-1 of that ABCD. And the reality is we may not hit that 1-to-1. The reality is we may kind of just coming towards the end of Jan, beginning of Feb, bottom out somewhere. So timing is important too. And so you can trade it. If you're looking to trade it, wait for a sign of strength. We may get it. I mean, the thing is, like I'm saying, I'm feeling bearish just because we've lost that level, and it looks like we've lost that level there, doesn't it? It looks like it. But tomorrow you could get a nice move and you get a nice green candle, and the price is now 5-6% higher. What do? Do you buy? You're like, oh man, it's going up, it's going up. That's the trouble with these kind of illiquid low market cap tokens. The price moves like 5-6%, 10% easily, and it's hard to get bullish when the price does that. If you don't see continuation, or if you don't see a nice back test. Mark, hi. He says, hey Amir, I love your technical analysis. I appreciate that, mate. Because QANX team seems to be playing their hand differently to most other teams releasing this project. Do you think all the TA could be invalid based on metrics? Which? Metrics which? Which what? TA is for fun here. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. When I've always said that it's entertainment value only. Part of the reason why I do TA on QANX is because it just gives everyone something to watch on a weekly basis. I can build my stream. I have some QANX, and I believe in quantum resistant future for a layer 1. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. It's just a fact. I do kind of give people a heads up on certain things, like the potential for downside, like I did that before. Here he goes. On metrics which are unaccounted for. So let me just read that again. Hey Amir, I love your TA because the QANX team seems to be playing their hand differently to most other teams releasing this project. Do you think that all the TA could be invalid based on metrics which are unaccounted for? What Mark means is this isn't playing out in a normal way than a regular TA could be applied when they finally launch and begin what will hopefully be a massive campaign. And you got more to say, huh? I'll wait for it this time. I won't interrupt you. I don't know why it double texts on my screen. Apologies for that. And apologies if the sound kind of muffles sometimes because I like to put my hand on my chin. Yeah. Well, I'm just waiting for Mark to finish what he's saying. Shall I go and get a cup of tea? No. Come on, Mark. Probably because it's got a timer on you, isn't it? Let me make you an admin. And then you can just write as much as you want. All right, now you can spam. Go on, spam me. All right. I kind of understand what you're saying. If you write any more, I'll read it. TA is really good when you're trying to trade, when you have, oh, there you go. And we all know that they are onboarding many big clients, which will be in place at launch. Shouldn't see a huge spike in buying, which will invalidate all this prior TA list. So all right, so look, let's just be kind of realist. Look, Elliott waves is a tried and tested theory. I didn't create it, I didn't invent it, I didn't make it. It's tried and tested across multiple markets, equities, currencies, and crypto. Yeah. When you have an invalidation of a pivot low, it's invalidated. It's just the rules. You're just applying the rules. That's all you're doing. Yeah. So when I say that this pivot low has been taken, it just has. It has because we put in a lower low. And that was your impulsive 5 wave, assuming that was an ABC. If that was your first wave, we're looking for another wave 3. It'd be more bullish. The point is this. If we didn't take out that low, and I'll explain, yeah? If we didn't take out this pivot low, then this wave 1 is still valid. And then this next wave is the wave 3 of this first wave, which is a wave 1, and this whole thing. So you count differently. It just allows you to count differently. That's all. But when you invalidate that wave, then you know that wasn't the first wave. So that was some sort of corrective mid-market correction, or a bullish continue, and that, which kind of brings me to that image, which I've hidden now, this expanded flat idea. So then it kind of brings the whole thing into context. So it's about context when it comes to technical analysis. But the reality is, because we've taken out that pivot low, we are looking at an expanded flat, an extended flat, rather than this being your wave 1, having a short ABC, and that being the first wave, and we're looking for a bigger wave 3, which means what it really means is that wave 3 hasn't started yet. Actually, in a sense, it helps, because if we didn't take out that low, if we just put in a higher low here, then we're in a wave 3. that was your wave 1, and this is going to be the wave 3 of 3. Okay, whereas now, because we've had that first initial wave 1, if this whole thing is a big wave 2 correction, we haven't even begun the wave 3 yet. And so then it helps, because then the first impulse will be our wave 1, wherever it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say it's like that. That's your wave 1. Then you have an ABC correction, however long that takes. As long as you don't take out the pivot low, then you have a really massive wave 3. And so it gives people the ability to hold on for longer, expecting higher by counting waves. Yeah, by counting waves. So a lot of people might have held on thinking that that was the wave 1, but the reality was that I've been talking about this being the wave 1 since at least a year now. Okay, so I always contemplated the idea of potentially taking out that low, and that's why I kind of created this crazy PA idea. Actually, I was hoping for a higher low, and actually you see now it's going lower. So I was hoping for a higher low because I was still thinking hopefully we can continue. But what's happened is the market is balanced, and because the market's balanced, it's just, there's just more sellers than buyers in this current market at the moment. It's just a fact. Yeah, and the market conditions aren't right for a higher low. So what we're looking at now is a potential extended flat based on something like that, and that gives us lower targets. Okay, now you're absolutely right. The team behind the scenes, they're doing things differently. They probably don't care about the market so much, because they're building a product which works. They're making partnerships which are real, and they're going for a massive mainnet launch whenever it comes. And the reality is, like I said last week, it's probably delayed. Yeah. And do you think they're going to launch, put the X-Link on testnet, test it, and then quickly rush to a mainnet? Probably not. Probably not. Probably they're going to go for a massive launch with all the big partners, because they want to pump this token to the moon, right? So that's why I said in the title, this is the dip of all dips, isn't it? Because for the first time, you're able to start accumulating QANX at 1.8 cents, and maybe even lower if we're lucky. And that's how I view it. I view this as, if we're lucky, we can actually get QANX for cheaper prices, because of the whole idea of what QANX is. It's a quantum resistance layer 1. It's an accumulation of a lifetime, and any impulsive move has to happen from the lows. That's one of the rules of Elliott waves. Impulsive move never happen mid-range or mid whatever. They always happen from a pivot low. So the fact that we're taking out all these lows and now this low, we could impulse from here. Yeah, it is possible. Yeah. But now that I'm seeing that we're taking out those, why wouldn't we take out this low? I'd like to see that low taken out now. I'd like to see that. Then to impulse. I'd like to see that. Yeah, maybe there's some big players waiting for lower prices, because at lower prices they've got 100, 200, 300 million dollars ready to pump into QANX at lower prices. Maybe you got these Qataris who are ready to buy up more at lower prices and defend this project at lower prices. Yeah. So there is a technical aspect to this. I think Bitcoin has a lot to do with the price, and we've seen significant weakness in Bitcoin, and that's having a detrimental effect on the whole altcoin market. I think we are going to see an alt season. I think it's probably going to happen at the beginning of next year, maybe starting end of Jan, Feb, or maybe we'll see a first pump in. I don't. Who knows? Like, no one really knows. No one really knows what's going to happen. But I think with a token like this, we're now starting to reach prices where people can actually start accumulating for 5-10 years. Yeah. So it's a great opportunity, isn't it? And you'd expect these Qataris who invested large sums of money to have more money on the side ready to invest, huh? You'd expect them to have more money to invest. And I think the team aren't under pressure, because they've obviously got a large burn fund, and so they're just taking their time. They just want to do this right. They want to make sure that they knock this out of the park, and they're not too worried about the price. And until the mainnet launches, until the crypto markets go back to extreme greed and bullishness, then we're going to see a lot of altcoins struggle. And I guess with a lot of people who've got QANX, you can argue that all of this was speculative and a lot of people took their profit and sold and they haven't bought back in, and they're just waiting for Bitcoin to stabilize and Bitcoin to show strength. And I think, like I said last week, this is largely to do with Bitcoin. The mainnet delays doesn't mean that this is a dead project, obviously. It just means that some people they saw what was happening and they're probably going to look to buy back lower. So how much has it dropped in 7 days? Friday, yeah, that I did that stream, that we're down 13%, huh? And we did get some buybacks, but put in a lower high, and now we're just trading lower. And that just shows you the liquidity of the market, doesn't it? I don't know. I mean, I think you make a good point. They're probably lining up all the players ready to do something big. I've sold some. I sold a little bit to buy another token to buy another token which was even lower and which I think has more potential. See, it's all, in a sense, it's all gambling, isn't it? And it's like you're taking risk and you're hoping you don't go broke. I'll be looking to buy some if we hit much lower, huh? Some more. If we do hit like 12 cents or 1.2 or 1.4, we take out that pivot low, you know, I could buy some more. But it's a lot safer to wait for the volume to come. And so this is my point when it comes to Elliott waves. It's a lot safer if people just want to catch the big move, wait for the volume. The first wave could be God almighty, and that's the thing that people don't realize. Yeah. So let me just hide all this shit. Get rid of this now. It's all relevant. The first wave is definitely going to be something to do with mainnet, isn't it? Whenever it happens. And you want it to happen from a pivot low. And because of the lack of liquidity and volume in this market, you could get wherever the low is, bam, that's your first wave. And then people are stuck if they're out of position, because if you get a wave one like that, just one candle, just one God candle like that, you end up having to buy in, if you're out of position, 300-400% higher. If you want to catch that wave, you get an ABC correction and then you get the next wave, and then we're at all-time highs basically. Oops, I can draw that straight, up at 20 cents. And so actually what I'm seeing is an opportunity. What I'm seeing these lows is an opportunity to accumulate more, and that's what I'm thinking about right now. I'm just looking for some kind of, like, I don't mind today's candle, to be honest with you. That looks okay to me. You could buy that candle today. Take out the lows, close higher than the previous day low. It's like a daily swing failure. It's like a swing failure of this low as well. You could buy that. Yeah, that's a buy signal for me. And the weekend you could get the price could go up. It could be up 15%, 13, 14%. Do you sell, or do you just keep on buying the buy signals? Does that make sense? Who knows? Everyone has to manage their own risk. But anyway, I mean, what I do is mostly for fun. Huh? Bring some spotlight to QANX. So I appreciate you're here, Mark. And I would ignore the TA. Just accumulate dollar cost average. Use a time-weighted average price. You've got to Google those terms to understand them. And effectively, what you're doing is you're increasing your QANX stack, and you're just holding it for a higher time frame, 5+ years. And what you want to do is you see these dips as opportunities. Some people do it on a red week, buy some every red week. Some people will do it every red month. Yeah, or some people would just wait for pivot lows. Every time a pivot low is taken, they just buy some more. And so effectively, they're getting the best spot entries at the right places, and they're not too fussed about the time, because of the higher time frame. They're focused on 5 years and they're focused on the fundamentals, not on the technicals. And so you still need a strategy to invest, and the best way is to dollar cost average based on time or based on some other buy signal, which is take the lows or red candles. That's kind of not financial advice, but and actually, you know, it's a struggle, huh? Because that, like, if you're buying red let's just say hypothetically you're buying 3-month candles and they're red. How many red 3-month candles have we had? 1, you buy the close. 2, 3, 4, 5. So you've bought 5 times now. Let's say each time you bought $1,000, so you have $5,000 worth of QANX. Your average price is probably somewhere above the point of control. So you could have waited and get a much better buy, 35% cheaper than your average. But this strategy requires continued buying. So you have to, if we end up with a red 3-month candle, you have to buy again. You have to keep on buying those red candles, and you have to do it for the higher time frame, for the long term, because eventually what happens is you get the pump, you get the mass adoption, and this token is listed on every exchange as a quantum resistant layer 1. And that's when you have, that's your payday, isn't it? It doesn't work if you don't keep on follow through with the strategy that you have in place. Does that make sense? So if you dollar cost average for a week and then just leave it, it doesn't work. But if you have a long-term a 5-year strategy of dollar cost averaging in and a strategy to buy, then you're not worried about the technicals. You just have your buy signals. Okay. And that is the best approach. So the TA that I do really is just for fun. I hope that helps. All right. That's enough QANX for today. I'm going to cut this video. If you like it, please like and share. And if you haven't followed me on YouTube, I'd appreciate that. I'm trying to get to 1,000 people. I'm close, but still not there. I'm going to go on to the last one. So I'm going to talk about what's on my head. D-Travel. I get a lot of abuse, a lot of abuse. So many people abuse me over this token. Yeah, I'm going to share one. I'm going to share one. It's so funny. I don't mind sharing abuse. It's the story of my life, huh? Brother, you're actually crazy. This shit is dead. From Crypto Steve. Crypto Steve. No animosity. It's all, you know, like it's all good vibes. Yeah, I'm here for good vibes. Crypto Steve. We all have our different opinions. And he's obviously a trader and he has his own kind of, he does his own stuff. No judgmentalism, nothing. Yeah. And I don't mind. I don't mind people criticizing or commenting or giving their 2 cents. I really don't mind that. Yeah, I am a little bit crazy. I'm a little bit mad. That's the truth. I replied, it's not, everything is changing. All right. So I'm going to address this in a little bit more detail. Everyone is looking at TRVL, looking at the charts and freaking out. Yeah, freaking out. I'm not freaking out. Yeah, not because of what I know, but I do know a lot of stuff, but because of the history. For me, the history is really important. I just wanted to kind of go, for a lot of people who've kind of follow my stream, they've got a bit of TRVL, they like D-Travel, they like the idea of the project. There's, you know, they like to get some more information about what's going on. I do talk a lot, so I apologize. I like to go into depth. I like to I don't plan these streams. I just talk, and here I am. I'm just talking about D-Travel and TRVL. When I go to the launch and go back to the launch of TRVL, I'm going to go to the MEXC chart. You see here it launched. We'll go to the weekly time frame. You see here it launched on the 22nd of November 21, and now we are on the 8th of December 25, week of the 8th of December 25. Okay, so this token has been trading now for How many weeks? Does it tell me? Can I figure it out like that? No, that's the wrong one. Whatever. It's been trading for 4 years now. 4 years. Just over 4 years, hasn't it? And as you can see, when it launched at 9 cents, it went up all the way up to 1.56. That's the all-time high. And ever since, the token has dropped to its current place, 99.85%. So if you bought this token on the day of the launch, you've pretty much lost all your value, pretty much. What's going on? What's happened? Has this token crashed? Well, look, why is this token crashed? I'll tell you what, guys, I only got involved in this project at around January, February here, when the token was trading somewhere between 14 to 8 cents to 20 cents. Yeah, I got involved here. I wasn't involved in the launch. I wasn't involved in any of that. Yeah, so if people have any kind of bad sentiment towards me, I apologize, but I wasn't involved in the launch. I wasn't involved in any of that. I got involved later, and the reason why I got involved, and it's a very pertinent reason why, is because I'm an Airbnb host. Actually, I'm an Airbnb soup host. This is me. I've been doing it for 10 years, more actually, and I have properties in London, and I was intrigued by the idea of a decentralized peer-to-peer style Airbnb. I thought it was correct. Like, in my imagination, I thought, yeah, if there's a team out there wanting to do this, I want to be part of it. Because one thing that I haven't gained as an Airbnb superhost is the growth, the value growth of Airbnb. Like, Airbnb's got richer and richer and richer, and they're making shit tons of money. But ultimately what's happened is that the hosts have been punished. Yeah, and we haven't got richer. It's become harder. It was a lot easier to do Airbnb 10 years ago than it is now. A lot easier. Airbnb were much kinder towards hosts. There was less competition, and it was just easier. There was less eyes on people hosting in their homes. Now you have regulations, you have local governments, you have Airbnb's been banned, and then Airbnb's punishes hosts and delists hosts, and they'll do all kinds of weird and, dare I say it, bad stuff, which is constantly causing people to lose their businesses and their livelihoods. Because the reality is that my business, my reviews, my businesses are at the mercy of Airbnb's decision. If they decide tomorrow that they want to delist me, they can. Yeah. If they want to delete me, they can. And I can't do anything about it. There's no process which allows me to continue my businesses. So I like the idea of a decentralized Airbnb, and that's why I got involved. I wasn't involved at the beginning. And for people, if people don't realize this, and I just want you to kind of, you go back to YouTube and you do a search for D-Travel. You should do this because it's good to do your research. Let's have a look at D-Travel. And you can go back and have a look and see. Look at this. The CEO, the previous CEO was this lady, Cynthia Huang. Okay. She was the CEO, and actually she wasn't the CEO. She used to be someone else. Let me see if I can find it. We have to go back further, huh? Let me see if I can do that. I saw it the other day, but I haven't, I don't usually prepare these videos. Upload date. No. Sort by upload date. That's better. And then how do we do it? We want to go oldest. We want to go to the oldest. Oh, that doesn't work. Can we scroll back? No, we wanted to go the other way around. Oh shit. I actually don't know how to do this. But she wasn't the CEO, okay? She was something else. And I saw it in a video. Let me see if I go to the D-Travel page. Maybe I'll find it there. Head of growth. Do you see that? What is the difference between Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3?
first of all, what is Web3? So I'm not sure if some of you have seen this slide before, but the idea is that Web1 was really about the YouTube, the
Anyway, I don't need to go through this video, but that's her. That's
media,
Cynthia
Booking.com, Airbnb.
Huang. She was the former CEO, and she wasn't even the CEO. So when you go to this video and you look at it, oh, where did it go? You see that? It says there, head of growth. Do you see that? Head of growth, head of growth, head of growth, head of growth. So she was made the CEO. And that's just, I just want to give you some history. She was the head of growth, and then she became, why did she become the CEO? Because she was also an Airbnb host. Okay. And she also had a forum for Airbnb hosts on Facebook. It was quite a large forum, and they didn't have a CEO at the time. The CFO was a gentleman called Drew. He was the CFO of Travala. And so the history of D-Travel is that Travala had a problem with short rentals. So Travala, if you don't know them, you can go to their website, Travala, have a look, and it's basically some sort of Expedia but for crypto. And they had a shortage of vacation rentals, and so they decided to create one, and they invested into a new project called D-Travel. They wanted to make it decentralized, and they did that, but they didn't have a CEO. And what happened was that the CFO, he left Travala and he became the CFO of D-Travel. But we didn't have a CEO, okay? And they organized a whole bunch of people, lots of people with lots of different experiences in the fields, and they brought them all together. And they said, this is what we want to do, let's do it. So it wasn't like one person's vision. No one person had a vision for the future. It was basically Travala saying, we have a shortage of vacation rentals. We want to do something. We want to do something in terms of Web3. That's why Cynthia was made the CEO, because she had the grasp of the difference between Web2, Web1, Web2, and Web3. And also she was a host. And I guess for reasons that I don't understand, I wasn't there. I wasn't involved. They made her, or Drew and others made her the CEO. Okay, it wasn't, not one person had a vision for the future of what D-Travel was going to look like. It was basically, let's put a whole team together. Let's say we want to make a decentralized Airbnb, and that's it. They didn't have a plan for the tokenomics. They didn't have a plan for growth. All they knew was that there was a need, or they felt like there was a need, and they were just going to inject a little bit of investment and try and make it happen. And that's how D-Travel was born. All right. And Cynthia and Drew, they were named the founders or the co-founders, but the reality was that she wasn't there from the beginning either. That's just the reality. Well, not from the beginning. The beginning was, it came from Travala. Okay, whoever was at Travala, probably the CFO and the CEO, they said, hey, we have a good idea, let's do this. And they injected some capital. And so what happened was, they had this idea, they launched it onto the exchanges, and to launch on exchanges, what you need is capital. And they injected the capital. They got some of their friends, they got the investors in, they paid the launch fees, they launched it on 4 exchanges pretty much at the same time: Bybit, MEXC, Gate.io, and KuCoin. And they launched at 9 cents, but the seed price, or the investor price, was 2 cents. So all of the people who were involved in TRVL pre-launch were bought in at 2 cents. And they launched at the height of the Bitcoin bear market, at the top of the last Bitcoin bull market, so the beginning of the bear market. They launched at literally the worst possible time. Effectively, it was a massive fundraise, effectively. Okay, I'm just telling you the history of D-Travel and TRVL. If you didn't know this, I'm just telling you what's happened. Okay, and the price of D-Travel, TRVL, for the seed investors, it went up 7,000% in one day, effectively, or 1 week. Yeah. And naturally, when the price of your token, when you buy like $10,000 worth of TRVL and it goes up 7,000%, what is that? let's say you bought let's say you're a seed investor and you bought $10,000 worth of TRVL at 2 cents and it goes up 7,000%. I'm just doing a calculator. That means you've turned your $10,000 into $700,000. You sell. That's what happened. That's the history of the beginning of D-Travel. It was just an idea. So when I got involved with D-Travel, it was about January, it was about February time, somewhere here. The price of TRVL was already down from the all-time high. It was already down like 89, 90%. Okay. Why did I get involved? Because when I got involved, I saw I liked the idea and I realized that they hadn't built anything. Nothing was built. There was no network. There was nothing. It was basically nothing. It was just an idea. It was an idea, and they had managed to launch a token and raise capital. That's what D-Travel did. They launched it and raised capital, and that capital was the burn money to build this idea, was to build this Airbnb killer. And that's the beginning in the history of D-Travel. But the problem, and I've talked about this in the past, and I'm just going to go back to it. The problem was that this wasn't one person's baby. This wasn't one person's vision. No one really knew what they were doing. They just said, hey, you know what? We'll just take down Airbnb. Let's do it. Yeah. Crypto. Yeah. You know, let's just, whatever. That's what happened. But they didn't know what they were doing. They just did it as it was going on. Yeah. They had some ideas. They knew how Travala worked. They knew that Travala was working. Yeah. So they had a little bit of a blueprint, but they wanted to make it decentralized. And so what they were thinking, the original people at D-Travel were thinking was, hey, let's make TRVL like Ava. Let's make it a rewards program. And that will be enough to attract all of the market. And what we learned is that as the network was building, and so because I was involved from quite early on, and because I was a successful Airbnb host and super host, yeah, I also was one of the first handful of properties on D-Travel. So I launched my properties on D-Travel 3.5 years ago, and in August 22, you see Skift and some other news sites reports on D-Travel claims the first short rental booking using blockchain and smart contracts. And guess what? It was in London, and it was, I can't read it, huh? Anyway, it was on my property in London. Yeah, so let me see if I can find it here. Here it is. D-Travel makes its first booking via smart contracts August the 5th. And you see that was me. Okay, so I was number one. The firm's first booking was conducted for a London apartment owner named Emir Sajadi. And so I launched my properties on D-Travel a month earlier in July 22. And in terms of timelines, it took D-Travel, from when I got involved, it took them a good part of 4 or 5 months to build the first version of what you now see, where people could actually log on and book. And so that's what happened. I was in the first handful of properties that went online, and I was the first property on the D-Travel network to process the first booking. It was a week in London. They paid using USDC on the Binance blockchain. That's the history of the beginning of D-Travel. And it was actually this apartment here, this one. It was a 3-bedroom apartment. They came for a wedding, actually. Nice people, very nice people. They loved it. They loved the idea. So there was a lot of excitement back then, a lot of excitement. And when you look at June Analytics, only came in a couple of years ago, and that's where you can see the live stats of our real world network. And back then, it was basically 50 listings. As I'm just imagining back then, because this didn't exist back then. Maybe 10 listings, whatever. Maybe 100 operator signups. Maybe one city, maybe one country or 2 countries, whatever. 5 cities. It was really small. We'd just begun right at the beginning. And you see these Dune analytics only come into play at the beginning of March 23. And you see the GMV back then was 55K. So it was much lower. So it took some time to build this. And the vision that the CEO, Cynthia, had with the rest of the people involved was, let's take down Airbnb. Let's take down Airbnb. But there was no plan for the tokenomics. There was no plan for anything else. They didn't have a real idea of how to bring travelers to our network. And they thought that if we just give people a 3% token gift back, that would be enough. So there was a 3% fee to use D-Travel, but they would give it back in TRVL. And they thought that was enough. That would be enough to attract the masses. And what we realized, or what I was noticing a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, is that it wasn't working. When you look at the graph, you see that 2 years ago, so the end of 23, beginning of 24, we only had 1,500 active listings. Yeah. It just wasn't growing fast enough in the context of the Bitcoin bull market. And when you go back to the charts, you can see that as the Bitcoin bull market was beginning in October, it was called October, TRVL actually made an all-time low. Okay. And what I noticed was there just wasn't enough growth. There wasn't enough demand. And every time the price of the token pumped, and the first warning signs were here, it pumped and you see it dumped. And not only did it dumped, put in an all-time low. And so this is what I talk about when I talk about the market. When you put in a new low, that means the market is balanced to the downside for sales, to the sell side. It means there's more sellers than buyers. So in the price action from here to here, in that time period, so it's about a year. No, it's less than a year. It's 10 months. In 10 months, there are more sellers than buyers. So people are actually leaving TRVL, not coming to TRVL. And in the context of the Bitcoin market, bull market just about to begin, you don't want to put another low. You want to put a higher low. If you put in a higher low, it means actually there are more buyers than sellers, and that makes much more sense in the context of a bull market. So that was our first flag. That was our first big red flag. When that red flag happened, I notified the team. I told them, hey, there's something going on here. This shouldn't be happening. Yeah, we need to do something, because what you're going to end up with is a pump and dump token. As I told them that. This was November 2023. I had a video call with the CEO and others. And I said, hey, we're in trouble. We have to do something. And they said, what do you suggest? Because that back then we weren't looking at a large network. We weren't looking at exponential, explosive network growth. And behind the scenes, I told them, hey, I think we need to change the tokenomics. And so they said, well, what are your suggestions? And I submitted to them a document. Called the Amir Rewards Ecosystem Proposal Updates. I submitted this to them in, I think it was December. Yeah, you see they put comments here, December. They took this document from me and they gave me no feedback. I never saw the document for 1 year and 2 months. They took it and they just sat on it. They commented on it. I didn't see any of these comments. I only saw these comments at the beginning of this year, beginning of 25, when someone sent it to me. And my idea was this. My idea was, let's just copy Bitcoin. Let's literally just copy Bitcoin. At the time, there was 300 million in circulation. I said, hey, let's lock up the 700 million into a mining pool for block rewards. And I explained my idea, and I said, let's replicate Bitcoin and let people booking and traveling compete for TRVL on a month-by-month basis based on network activity. So effectively tying the growth and the value of the network to the rewards. Whereas at the current time, they were giving everyone 3% back in TRVL. And that's it. So they took my ideas and they made they sat on it for 4 months, and then they released what is the current D-Travel tokenomics. So if you go to D-Travel now, you go and have a look at the documentation. Go and have a look at the tokenomics. And this is what they came up with. This was launched in March 24, okay? And they basically, in a gist, they ignored my idea. They came up with something completely different. And this is what they came up with. They came up with a really intricate and yet complicated idea. And at the time I told them, hey, it's too complicated. No one's going to understand. But I didn't make a fuss because I was like, okay, they've done it now. Let's see what happens. Yeah. This was March 24. And they launched it as TRVL was here. And then after that, we just saw a sell-off. That's how the market reacted. That's when it was launched. They launched it, and it basically ended up being exit liquidity for whoever was selling. And then the token crashed another 75%. Okay, so the market didn't accept the proposal effectively. And that's what this means. Okay. And all of this up pressure was anticipation of the tokenomics. You see that? So from the all-time low in October 23, we were talking about the tokenomics. It was basically around December time 23. That's when we were making a hurrah in the Telegram. Everyone was expecting tokenomics, 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 launch, sell. That's what happened. That's effectively what happened. The market didn't accept the tokenomics, but I've got evidence, and I'm just showing you now that they just did not implement my idea. These are ideas, yeah, and I actually just came up with this in half an hour. I'm not saying this is correct. I'm just saying it was an idea. I submitted this idea December 23. All right. But what I do want to highlight is some comments. And this person is now no longer with D-Travel. He was one of the leaders of the previous leadership team. And look at what he writes as a comment to my ideas. He says, even in Bitcoin where the supply is theoretically quite elastic, simply the fact that not too many people knew about Bitcoin in the beginning led to a high concentration of BTC among a few people who were early adopters and who became BTC billionaires, thanks to the fact that BTC succeeded anyway. This also contributed to the proliferation of other L1s because between joining Bitcoin, where a few users already detained a large chunk of BTC supply, and creating their own blockchains, many communities preferred the latter. So simply replicating Bitcoin's model is likely to create similar problems. And so what's interesting is that he's talking about the problems, but not the fact that people became billionaires. And he actually say the early adopters became rich, became BTC billionaires. He's saying that that's because BTC succeeded anyway. But actually, when you go to Bitcoin and you go to the charts and you have a look at the charts of Bitcoin, to do that, you have to go to the index. This is the index. You'll see that the price of Bitcoin only went up even before it succeeded. You see in January the 10th, 2010, it went up. You see that? It had nothing, Bitcoin going up had nothing to do with the success of Bitcoin. It was 100% based on the Bitcoin tokenomics. It's got nothing to do with the sixth. Bitcoin is only, if you want to, arguably, Bitcoin has only really succeeded in the last 3 or 4 years, or 3 years, or even last year with the mainstream adoption, with the Wall Street adoption, with BlackRock and Coinbase and all of these companies starting to adopt Bitcoin as a real world asset as part of their asset portfolio. Yeah. Bitcoin succeeded well before then. So he was saying that these people became Bitcoin billionaires because thanks to the fact that Bitcoin succeeded anyway. Well, that's not true. He was wrong. But what is true is that people became Bitcoin billionaires. Oops, I've lost it. So let me go back to it so you can find it. Hold on. And I'm not saying all of his comments were wrong or right. And there are comments. It's not objective, is it? It's very subjective comments. Yeah. And so we all have our opinions, and no one is, I'm not saying all my opinions are right. I'm just saying that this is a PhD who is saying that these people became Bitcoin billionaires. I'm saying some of his comments are correct. And his idea that there was a danger that, and basically his point is that people became rich. Oh, look, see this? This is another point. Emir seems to be a positive exception in the driving direct bookings, and it is natural that he would want to incentivize himself. And that's the point that I was trying to make at the beginning. You need to give people who were involved in D-Travel, not just me, everyone who's involved, everyone who's held on to TRVL, everyone who's working hard to grow D-Travel, incentive, real incentive. That's how you grow D-Travel, to give them real incentive. The dream of becoming rich is a real incentive. And what we have to do is we have to look at the comments that were made. And so his point about the L1s was that people became rich and they launched other L1s, and that became competition for Bitcoin. But what we know now, looking back in history, is that Ethereum or Cardano or Solana, none of those other L1s have taken away from Bitcoin. What they've actually done is they've actually added to the whole ecosystem, the whole crypto ecosystem. They've actually added value. They've actually made the whole ecosystem exciting. It hasn't taken away from Bitcoin. It's actually brought much more to Bitcoin. And yet Bitcoin still is the granddaddy. It's the royale with cheese. It's like the master. And so I just wanted to show you that. And so back then we were talking about these tokenomics changes. I just proposed an idea. I said, let's just copy Bitcoin, basically. Let's do something like Bitcoin, and we can make it slightly more creative, just because we're not a layer 1, we're using a layer 2, and we can use we have smart contracts, and we can use NFTs and other things as well. So that was the conversation that was going on, and they completely ignored my ideas. And I wasn't saying to them, hey, my ideas are right or my ideas are the best. And actually when they came out and they launched their tokenomics in March, you didn't hear anything from me. There was no critique whatsoever. And if you go to my YouTube channel, yeah, all the videos are there, going all the way back. I haven't deleted any of them. Okay. Let's have a look. I've got a playlist, D-Travel. And we've come back up. I mean, I have to go all the way down in this playlist. How long is it? Oh, can we see all of it? There it is. I'm not sure where to look. Let's go to this one. Don't know. Well, that's not it. That says 6 days ago. Just forget about the token and just focus on. There you go. What does that say? 1 year ago. No, it's more than 1 year ago. Let me see if I can pull the playlist, actually. How do I do this? I don't know. That might be better. Oh, there you go. That's better. So let me try and find it. One year ago. Oh my God, I made a lot of videos, huh? All right. I think we're... See, look. Tokenomics, governance and marketing. Big updates soon. What else is there? Big bets on TRVL and D-Travel. Let's see if we can find it. Why to buy? Look, TRVL, why to buy? When did I post that? The one that I've been tracking. See, 19th of February. I'm not negative at all. I'm positive. There you go. D-Travel Night Token, a layman's explanation, a deep dive. And you can go back and you can watch that. Yeah. Why so bullish on TRVL? An easy explanation of the fundamentals. Okay. And so even when I disagreed with the plan, even when the tokenomics was launched and it was completely different from what I had suggested, it was a complete tangent. You see, this was posted. Let me see when this was posted. 3rd of March. Yeah. I tried to support D-Travel and I didn't say anything. I didn't crash the project or do anything untoward. Yeah. I just kept on making videos, even when the price was dropping. And the reality was that I suggested a change in tokenomics. They said that, hey, if we do your tokenomics, it might make Bitcoin billionaires out of us, out of all of us, because we're all early and we'll end up having most of the tokens. And we don't want to do that because there's a risk that other businesses will come along because I would have got rich and or anyone who's involved in D-Travel would have got rich, and then they'll go and make another D-Travel. And the reality is that those businesses have come anyway. Yeah. And this is the other thing you have to remember. Like, look, this is Air BTC. They're coming anyway. They're coming after us anyway, regardless of what we do. It's got nothing to, and actually it's worse for us now because now some people look at D-Travel and they go, well, D-Travel hasn't succeeded. I can come and do something better. And so actually it's the inverse of what he said. It made no difference. If we had succeeded in the first iteration of D-Travel, then we could have knocked these guys out of the park and no one would even go to these guys and look at these guys. Okay. So that's a little bit of the history of what happened in the past with the tokenomics. And basically the recent history is this, that recently, last year, we had a period of time without a CEO because the CEO had maternity leave. During that time, there was no interim CEO appointed. She didn't appoint any interim CEO. There's a question on how long she was off for. I estimate it was about 4 months. I think it was at least 2 months, you know, arguably at least 2 months, but maybe 2 months part-time and then 2 months off, something like that. And during that time that the CEO was on maternity leave, the price of TRVL, look at it, it went up. It was somewhere between October and December. It went up. And guess who was in charge of D-Travel at that time? Even though the CEO had gone, vanished. Yeah. It was basically the end of September, beginning of October, all the way till December. Eric Pace, he wasn't even the CEO. There was no COO. He was just head of growth or something like that. Growth or acquisition or something to do with networking. And he was running the show. So even though he was an appointed CEO, he was effectively running the show. And then during that time, that was the price of TRVL went up. And then when the CEO came back, the price crashed. And that is the history of D-Travel. When TRVL hit the all-time low, and that was the first week of February, that's when we started having big disagreements on Telegram, because it's just not right for a token to make an all-time low consecutively in the context of a bull market. That's just not correct bullish price action. And because I was flagging this behind the scenes, and I was flagging this behind the scenes all the way back from November 23, I submitted the tokenomics, which wasn't accepted. The new tokenomics was rejected by the market, but I still supported it all the way until finally we hit a new all-time low. And this was after the CEO was on maternity leave. And for personal, I mean, everyone's allowed to do that, but personally, I think if you go on leave, you have to tell everyone, you have to be completely open about what's happening, and then you have to appoint an interim and say this is the interim CEO. But actually, just so that you know, Eric Pace was running the show and the token went up. Okay, that's how I knew he was the right person to be the CEO. Anyway, the arguments that followed on Telegram led to me leaving D-Travel. I wasn't even employed by D-Travel. I wasn't employed by Tree. I was just a host like everyone else. I proven the concept works. I proved the network was working. I proved the business works because I'd processed 60,000 or whatever dollars worth of transactions and 30 bookings or whatever on my properties in London with D-Travel. But the reality was that it wasn't working. People weren't attracted to D-Travel. The network wasn't growing fast enough. The business wasn't growing fast enough. And people were panicking. They were worried about the Bitcoin bear market. And so a lot of investors sold. And then once we hit all-time lows, more investors sold. Okay. What we're seeing now, okay, is a continuation of what all of that's happened. That's what we're experiencing now. Now, what's changed? Well, what's changed is that Eric, who for a short period of time was in charge and the token went up, he is now officially the CEO. The people who were initially involved in the beginning have left. So Cynthia has left. She's not part of the project anymore. She was the CEO. She's gone. Drew, who was the CFO, he's gone too. Bruno, who made those comments on this document, he's gone too. He created, this is the person, Bruno, with Cynthia, who created the tokenomics that we currently have that's being changed. And so what we're experiencing now is a continuation of that. There's no success in the previous vision. It's just a fact. And what we have now is finally, and this is what I want to come to, finally, we have someone, Eric, who has a vision, a new chapter. He's printed it here. A new chapter for D-Travel, rebuilding travel around people. You see, whereas before there was no vision, there was no grand plan, there was no idea of what we should do or how to do it. Now we have someone who has a plan, who has a vision, who really believes in this future, not because he thinks it's inevitable, this is how it's going to be, or the world is going to go this way. This is someone who wants to build something for the future, and he's printed it here, and you can go and read it on the blog. He talks about what's broken. He talks about what we're building. He talks about how we can align the incentives. He talks about why this matters, and he talks about what's coming. And so we are all still waiting for what's to come, okay? And naturally, we are really at the precipice of a new birth for D-Travel. This is where we're at right now, okay? Everything in the past, I'm just telling everyone now, it's best just to lay it out in the open. Everything that happened before that went wrong, it's over, it's finished, okay? And the reason why I came back is because I believe in Eric. I really believe in Eric. I believe he's the right person. I believe that now we're on the right track. And the truth is that I don't expect them to employ my ideas 100%. And it's not my ideas, it's a collaboration of ideas, but it's about the direction. It's about understanding the problems, and it's about the direction of travel of what we're trying to do. Whereas before they were so focused on trying to take down Airbnb, yeah, now they're focused on creating something for the future, something new for the future, using blockchain technology the way it was meant to, and creating tokenomics for the crypto community, tokenomics which people actually understand and which will actually support the growth and the expansion of the D-Travel network. And that's what they're working on right now as we speak. And so I just wanted to give you a bit of a history into that. And so I don't know if that helps people. There's no technical analysis today. Yeah. I just thought it'd be important to just explain some things and give some kind of context of the history. Now, I came back in July. I came back, I don't get paid, yeah. I came back to do my streams in July. That's when we hit a pivot low, and unfortunately we've lost the lows. We've lost the lows mainly because of the Bybit ST tag. That's what's actually caused this big sell-off. And I've explained this in my previous videos. Bybit put an ST tag on TRVL. They are aggressively going after low market cap tokens now. And it doesn't matter that we have a new CEO. It doesn't matter that we have a new vision. It doesn't matter that we've seen a significant increase in volume over the last few months. They don't give a shit. Yeah. They put an SD tag, and that's why we've experienced this sell-off. But this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity because of everything that I've said. We now have a team who fully committed to changing the tokenomics and bringing it in line with what crypto understand and what crypto wants, and the way in a way that will grow the D-Travel network. Okay, and so more to follow, more to come. Okay, more is to come. I don't have the details. Honestly, I don't have any conversations with anyone regarding the tokenomics or anything. I've just given my one input 2 years ago, and they have to come up with the ideas and figure it out. Okay, because I'm not a member of staff. I'm just here doing my little YouTube channel and hosting in London. But I just wanted to give you some kind of history of what's happening. And what I am slightly involved with is the El Salvador project. Okay, and so this is the other thing that we're talking about. It's the first initiative. And so the key point is first. You have to hone in on the word first, because this is going to be the first of many initiatives, and we will make this a success. We are going to knock this out of the park. And if and when we succeed with this project, with this initiative in El Salvador, it's going to capture the imagination, not just of the people who govern El Salvador, but of anyone involved in crypto in this sector, in this area, in anyone to do with travel. It's going to be a real game-changing initiative, because, and you'll see, I can't actually say anymore. I've said enough actually, and basically I'm slightly involved with that because El Salvador is something that I've been pushing for. Not because I live there. I live in London. I want to move there in the future, but I live in London. But because I see El Salvador as an opportunity for D-Travel to capture a part of a small market, but a very important market when it comes to crypto and when it comes to future growth. And if you've ever been to El Salvador, not many people have. What you learn and understand is that it connects Guatemala with Nicaragua. And so you can't really go through that zone without going through El Salvador. People don't travel through Honduras because Honduras is unsafe. It's parts of Honduras are controlled by gangs, and they still kidnap foreigners. And El Salvador has become a real safe place for tourists, really safe. And so El Salvador, when we knock this out of the park and when this succeeds, everything that follows is going to be really bullish. Everything that follows. That's kind of what I wanted to talk about today, and kind of give a little bit of history about what's happening. The other thing I wanted to kind of announce, and there's a new change log. Let me just show you. So a lot of people have been asking me about why aren't we seeing Friday updates? Where are the Friday updates? We like them. Well, we don't have Friday updates anymore because we have this change log. And so all you have to do is go to feedback.dtravel.com/changelog. And here you can subscribe to the updates. And here you'll see the updates as they happen. So here you see that November the 24th, that was the last major update. New marketing site. We relaunched a redesigned marketing site at dtravel.com to better showcase the dtravel ecosystem. SDK version 2 release. Our updated SDK includes major improvements to the booking widget, making integration smoother and faster. Here you can comment on it, etc. You see that? Stripe Connect Express expansion. Hosts in Vietnam, El Salvador, South Africa, India, and several other regions can now accept fiat payments via Stripe Connect Express. See that? El Salvador. So you see now the puzzles are starting to connect. You see that? See, Stripe has now offered support for El Salvador. This is a big deal. The other thing I wanted to show you, which is really important, is that Stripe USDT, oh, not Stripe, Stripe. Stripe is now accepting crypto payments, I think. I saw that somewhere. So Stripe has opened up a public testnet for stablecoin payments. And Stripe is actually the plugin that we use to accept fiat to process decentralized bookings on dTravel. And so they are also going down the stablecoin route where people will be able to pay using USDC on Stripe in the future. So that's another update. And then anyone else who's got any kind of questions or anything, go to the Telegram. That's where all the conversations are. There's a lot of conversations going. Andrea, who is our community manager, she's very active. She does most of the posts on the X page. She also responds to people here, and she's kind of keeping everyone up to date. Look, dTravel is under new direction now. We are entering a new chapter where we are changing / improving many things, including tokenomics. You see that? And that was directly in response to someone who wrote about the tokenomics, asking about the tokenomics. And that's kind of why I'm talking about the tokenomics today. And soon, look, we will announce the 2026 roadmap, and I'll ping you here for you to stay updated. You see that? There's a lot of things happening, and unfortunately, the same thing that I've always been saying, we just have to give them a little bit of time, a little bit of patience. Yeah. Everything that's gone wrong, you have to kind of look at it like this. There's a lot of things that went right. So I don't want to like destroying the credibility of the previous leadership 100%. Okay. They did end up building a network, a real world network that I think is pretty fantastic. They did end up building this. Yeah. And if you go to dTravel, you can see that in action. You can actually go to dTravel. You can actually have a look for yourself. And for travelers, you can travel and you can search. Let's go to Dubai. And this works. This is basically an Airbnb, decentralized Airbnb. And you can search, you can look at the calendars, and you can book, and you can pay. Often you can pay in fiat and crypto, but if not fiat, then probably usually crypto you can pay. So this works. This 100% works. We've had over 10,000 room nights booked, and there. Sorry, I wasn't on the right screen. There, you see that? So that's the dTravel travelers. That's Dubai, and that's the stay. And you can check availability and book that. And we know it works because if you go to Telegram, you go to the general channel. Look, new booking processed, new booking site activated. You see that? And new booking site activated, new booking process. You can see the activity. So every time there's a booking or there's a new booking site activated, there's a message that comes to this channel, and you can see that it's working. And these are real world travelers traveling on the dTravel network. You see that? And so we know it works. And so what I want to say is that now that you're looking at the token and you're freaking out and you're panicking, and I'm not going to do any technical analysis. There's no point, okay, to do technical analysis. you can do all the technical analysis you want. The reality is we're at all-time lows, right? We're trading at 0.2 of a cent or just under. We've put in a lot of volume. We've had a little bit of a sell-up, mainly because of the Bybit SD tag. And fundamentally what we're experiencing is people like that Crypto Steve, who commented on my post saying, brother, you're actually crazy, this shit is dead. And what I want to show you is it's not dead. It's not dead. Yeah. What we have is a previous CEO and a previous leadership who implemented a tokenomics that was rejected by the market, and now what we're seeing is a change, a shift. We have a CEO who was in charge of D-Travel when the previous CEO was on maternity leave, and during that period of time the token went up, and now he is implementing his vision for the future. And it's not just one thing. It's not just, hey, let's do the tokenomics and everything's going to be okay. It's tokenomics, it's wellness, it's rewarding wellness or connecting D-Travel to wellness globally. It's restructuring D-Travel and making it into a DAO. It's these new initiatives that we're creating in different parts of the world, and details of that are soon to be announced. And there's a lot more coming. That's something else that that you're going to find out about soon. And when I say soon, I mean, I think in the next few weeks, if not in the next month or two, a lot of changes are happening and they're going to be announced, and you'll get the 2026 roadmap as well. So anyway, I just want you guys to be like me, extremely bullish, extremely positive about the future. We're going to turn the ship around. And the other thing is that we can't look at the past and go, okay, everything's going to look gloomy now because of the past. You almost have to ignore the past, or at the very least understand why the past happened and how the past happened, and understand that D-Travel are learning or have learned from the mistakes of the past and are now changing the course of the ship. The ship is changing and moving in another direction. Everything's changing, right? And so we can talk about the past, and I just wanted to share that with you. Any questions or comments, feel free to post it underneath this video. None of this is financial advice. And as always, I say, if you're going to start accumulating at these prices, which are ridiculously low, then just make sure you implement a strategy like dollar cost averaging on using a time-weighted average price basis. That's the best way to do this, because then you get the average price. And catching the average price of the lows, it doesn't matter so much exactly what price you get. Like if you get 40% higher, you're still in the lows, you know, and you look at the higher time frame, you still look where you are. The risk is now to the upside, not to the downside. The only way for the risk to be now to the downside is or would be if D-Travel was closing sharp. There was no new vision, the leadership hadn't changed, there was no new plan, and everything was going to collapse. And I'm telling you, that's not happening. We're actually turning the corner now. We're changing the direction of the ship, and things are about to get really, but these next 2 months are really important, and I think we're going to pull this one out. And hopefully the community is going to rally behind Eric, it's going to rally behind the team, rally behind Andrea, maybe watch my videos once in a while, and start to accumulate and start to get behind the new D-Travel, the new version of D-Travel. Right. I wish you a great weekend, and until next week, goodbye.